There are so many things to stress about when it comes to international travel. And with my upcoming Europe trip, you know what I'm not stressing about? Finding Wi-Fi or getting scammed on overpriced SIM cards. I'm using Saily, the eSIM app that keeps you connected in over 200 countries without the airport hassle or those ridiculous roaming fees. It's made by the folks behind NordVPN, so privacy and security covered. You install Saily once, pick a plan, and you're good to go. Whether you're hopping countries or just need solid data from the moment you land. And bonus, Saily has a built-in ad blocker that can save you up to 28% on mobile data. That's more scrolling and less wasting data. So if you're traveling soon, do this now. Download the Saily app in your app store and use the code DATEABLE at checkout for 15% off your first data plan. That's DATEABLE for 15% off. Stay connected, stay smart, get Saily. Did you know you can eat healthy without giving up flavor or fun? I didn't know that until I discovered Washington Red Raspberries. They're a clean, simple, and seriously delicious way to add more nutrition to your day. American grown by American farmers, picked at peak ripeness, and frozen within hours to lock in nutrients like fiber, antioxidants, and vitamin C. Washington Red Raspberries have no added sugar, just fruit, as nature intended. I love eating a handful as a snack throughout my day, and if I'm feeling fancy, I'll swirl some into yogurt or top off a salad. They're such a great summer treat. I won't gatekeep this anymore. Frozen Washington Red Raspberries are one of the best kept secrets in the freezer aisle, and make sure to look for Product of the U.S. on the bag. Want to discover new ways to use American frozen red raspberries and get more details on where you can grab a bag of these delicious berries? Go to redraz.org. That's redrazz.org. You'll find recipes, health tips, retail locations, and everything you need to make frozen Washington red raspberries a regular part of your routine. Hi, I'm Yue Xu.
And I'm Julie Kraftchick.
We're active daters turned dating insiders.
Here to dive into everything modern dating and relationships.
Welcome to Dateable. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Brunch Talk. But here we are.
Here we are.
We're going to talk about, let me think.
Dating.
let me think of a topic, because I don't know what we talk about on the show.
Although we're actually kind of gonna get into it. Like, it's kind of like the anti of dating, because we're actually going to be talking about how you don't need to be good at dating, which is something that you probably wouldn't expect to hear from the two of us. The relief here is if you are bad at dating, that might actually be a good thing.
Well, I guess when you're saying good at dating, it usually means that you're probably performative, that you think a lot about your messages and you know how to have this witty banter. You're really polished at flirting and how you present yourself on dates. But that's not actual connection. That's just a good at a certain skill.
Right. I mean, there's clearly a line of like being terrible at dating and saying inappropriate things, but bad at dating, maybe it's like, I don't know all the rules. I don't know all the things I'm supposed to do. And the reality is that like when you show someone like who you are, it is messy, it is vulnerable, and sometimes awkward, but that's what makes someone fall in love with you. It's not the games. It's not like holding back and not putting yourself out there.
And if you want the best hack to dating, is find the ones who are not that great at dating.
Yes.
Because they make amazing partners. They're not in it for playing the games. They're not in it for vanity swipes. They're showing up as their authentic selves. And that shit actually lasts. That's a connection that's built on a strong foundation.
Totally. It's the people that are the slick daters. You got to stay away from them.
I'm so scared of those because I used to be one of those.
You also dated someone that was very slick dater.
Oh, yeah. No, I've definitely fallen for that. And I've actually been that too. It's like the people that show up and they know how to package themselves to get you to like them, to get people to match with them. Sure, they're charismatic and they're magnetic. But then when you get to know the real them, is there a connection? Do you actually even like spending time with this person? It's hard to know beneath all that performative antics.
This is why when people spend hours dissecting dating app profiles, it kind of kills me inside. Because usually the people that have that great profile. They are they're like the house on Zillow that,
Yeah.
is all packaged up that maybe doesn't actually have the best in structure and interiors. And, I remember I have like a friend that moved to this place and like on the surface, it looked really nice, but the construction wasn't well done. So you could see that there were like cracks beneath the surface. And I think a lot of times, like when we overly try to like market ourselves and be buttoned up, that tends to be the people maybe that are the more slick daters because they know what levers to pull. But if you're like going into dating apps trying to find like the best profile, that's who you're going to end up with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but definitely have fallen for that on Zillow. Or even when searching for apartments, you go to the one that's staged very well, and then you show up, there's cockroaches everywhere. And I remember going to a very nicely staged condo, and I went to sit on the bed and it was made out of cardboard, and I fell.
Oh my God.
I almost broke my hip because it was not a real
bed. That's not
bed.
an analogy for the wrong people in dating. I don't know what is.
But the bed looked amazing. Julie has so many pillows on it. I thought of you. I was like, this is staged so well. That's why I went to sit on it. It looked so comfortable. And it was just a pile of cardboard.
I think another example I think of is the opening line. There's like so much emphasis. I always think of this episode we did with Kane Holloway. Remember him?
Yes.
It was like, he was like basically like his friends were telling him to be like a fuckboy, but he like couldn't be. And he was someone that came into the dating scene. He was so new because he was divorced and like in relationships up until then, never really dated and never really went on apps. And I remember like the things he was really focused on were like, what opening line do I do? Like, how do I say this? Like, very like, manipulating it. And I was like, at first, I'm like, this is so foreign to me. But I'm also like, I could see how someone could think like, these are the things I need to do. Because that's what we're taught of like, this is how you get on the apps. This is how you work the apps. But all of that is just so unnatural, right? And for him, he was like such a good relationship oriented person who was like basically doing all these things, thinking that's what he had to do to like be on dating apps and to date. But then it wasn't working because it wasn't actually who he was, and people like weren't getting that full connection to him.
It's the same feeling we have about being in your feminine and being in your masculine. When you're told to act a certain way that's against who you naturally are, then who cares if you're acting in your feminine or your masculine? Just be yourself. But we've been told for so long in dating that we have to fit in the specific mold of someone to be desirable, to be popular, to be chosen, that now we've gotten to a place where so many people don't even know who they are because they've been molded in so many different directions.
And I think when you're so focused on like saying these witty things or like the things that you think will like land someone, you're not like conversing with them in a way that actually like brings you closer to someone. And I know like we've made parallels between dating and friendship. And I know you could argue that, it's different because it's a different like market and all that stuff. But at the core of it, like dating, like it's really a friend that you want to fuck, right? Like at the end of the day, like that is someone that, can I say that on YouTube? But
sure can.
Like, I think if you have that mentality, like you think about it too. Like I remember talking to a friend of mine and she was like so out of the dating game. Like she'd been like with her like college boyfriend, but she worked at a dating app. So she was like, I don't understand how people like kind of like date today. And like they expect everything to be like instant. And she's like thinking about our friendship. Like it wasn't like we were instant BFFs. Like it grew. It took time. And I think when you kind of get into that dating realm of like, I need to be performative and say the certain things, like that's not allowing for that space to happen where you actually just get to know another human being.
So if we were to make dating an Olympic sport and you were a coach for dating athletes, what do you think are the skills that people think they need to work on in order to win the Olympics of dating? Because I think the first skill people always think they need to work on is being interesting.
Mm-hmm.
entertaining and interesting. I got to have a funny story. I got to be witty. I got to come in with something that really grabs her or his attention when I have the spotlight.
Yeah, I think that's why you get the people that like recite their resume or kind of lead with that stuff. I think there's that. I think of course, being attractive and putting yourself together. And again, I'm not saying like you shouldn't show up nicely to a date. Like, of course, show up in the way that's like, makes you feel the best and like puts you in the best light for yourself. But I don't think you need to like transform into a person you're not on a date or feel like that's what's getting in your way. Because the reality is like there is a lid for every oh my God, why did I just like blank on the lid for every pot? Oh my God, I forgot our favorite saying.
How could you?
Oh my goodness.
Tattooed on my arm.
I know, this is like our thing. No, it's really not. It's been around forever, but we love this saying.
But we love this saying.
For every pot. But I agree. I think that's so true though. And like, I don't know, I feel like I was so in my head for years being like, I have to look like this to like date and be with someone. And then you like look around at couples all over the place. No one looks the same. Like everyone is who they are. There's no like universal. I think all that stuff has been ingrained from media so bad.
Yeah. So the second skill that I think people want to train for is their dating profile.
Yeah.
They want to polish their dating profile to get as many matches as possible. I was watching this interview of this girl who just went on Raya, and the interviewer was like, "What do you think?" And she's like, "They all look the same. Every guy has a Burning Man picture. And then every man's a founder of something."
Right.
Like, she's like, they all look the same, but yet they all think they're very unique and that they've somehow got this really shiny, profile for people to match on. I think that's what is so fascinating about dating is that the harder we try, the more we actually just look like everybody else.
I know. I mean, there was advice for a while of like to swipe as the sex that you're trying to attract. So like if you're like a hetero dater and you're looking for guys to like go on you're trying to attract men, go on as a guy to see the other women. I was like, what is that connection?
Yeah.
Go on as a guy to see the other women. But I almost feel like that's not good advice thinking about it, because you're basically just going to morph your profile into looking like all the people you're seeing all the time. Like, unless you're like actively doing it the other way. But most times when you have that advice, you're like, well, let's see who's attractive on here. Let me like emulate that person. But that's like kind of a bad approach when you think about it.
I guess it's a good approach if you're trying to stand out. I mean, if I were a guy trying to stand out and I see all these dudes posting their Burning Man photos, I'd be like, yep, not posting any photos of me in fur.
You have to look at it that way, though. But I feel like most people, when they're doing it, are doing it the opposite.
Do you think so? Do you think people just
so.
Want to assimilate into one look?
It's not that they want to. I think it's like people want to see what works. And it's like, if I think this person, even though they don't really know, because you don't really know like how many matches this person is getting, and even if they're getting a ton of matches, are they the right person for you? Like that, it doesn't matter. But I think when people do that, they look at like who's attractive through their eyes, and then like be like, oh, their profile is like this long, or they're talking about travel and this stuff. I should add that stuff in.
Yeah. And I think that brings me to the third skill that people would want to train for is how do I get as many dates in the funnel as possible? Because you think you're good at dating when you play the numbers game, and you got to build that funnel. You got to make sure that there's always someone in rotation. And we've talked about this in depth on this podcast, is when you play the numbers game, you don't go deep with anybody. You're just scratching the surface. Everybody feels like a number, so you never get to a real close connection with anybody. And at the end of the day, when you've gone on 10 dates in 1 week that didn't amount to anything, I think that's much lonelier than going on 1 or 2 really good connected dates.
100%. I think you're dead right on all of these, but they're kind of the opposite of what we need to be doing. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, none of this matters. I think I still hold strong to less is more. And I get it. If you're not getting any matches, like at all, then you need to look at like what's going on for you. But just to put it out there, and I'm sorry if this offends someone, we've seen this before. People say they're not getting any matches, but then they're passing over people. Or they have someone that wants to go out with them again, and they're saying no to them. So some of it's taking a deeper look too of like, am I really actually not getting the matches, or is it something more that my expectations are off or I'm holding to the wrong standards?
Yeah, exactly.
I want to dive into this even more, but before we do, let's take a quick break to hear from our partners.
As summer winds down, I'm all about refreshing my wardrobe with staple pieces for the season ahead. And Quince nails it with luxe essentials that feel effortless and look polished, perfect for layering and mixing. Their styles are so versatile, I find myself reaching for them time and time again. Think chic cashmere and cotton sweaters starting at just $40, washable silk tops, which I have many of, and classic denim pants. And the best part, everything with Quince is half the cost of similar brands, and they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. My current most favorite piece from Quince right now is a button-down linen shirt. I have the matching pants to go with it. Such a great transitional piece, perfect for summer nights right now, and then well into the fall. Elevate your fall wardrobe essentials with Quince. Go to quince.com/dateable for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/dateable to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DATEABLE. So if we're circling back to if you're training for the dating Olympics, these are the 3 skills to not spend any time on.
Right.
Like the skill of trying to be interesting, the skill of having a polished profile, the skill of trying to get as many matches and dates as possible. If you're truly spending your time training for these 3 skills, you're spending your time on the wrong place. So if you catch yourself doing that, say, I'm not doing that. I'm going to shift my energy elsewhere.
Can I just say a couple things that came to mind as like counter to these that I think can immediately help people?
Yes.
The most interesting, we think that we need the story, we need the resume. The most interesting is the most interested. If you listen more on dates, stop talking as much, make someone feel seen and heard. That doesn't mean you need to be like mute. Of course, there has to be like dialogue going back and forth, but it almost gives more of that breathing space to let the other person be themselves and to get to know them. You don't need to come prepared with an interesting story. Talk to someone like you would a friend that you're meeting. I think all this pressure on dates is making them feel so awkward and contrived. If we reduce that pressure and make it that meet and greet, I'm just meeting someone new. What would I ask someone new? Would I listen and bounce off an idea and question from that? That's going to go so much further. So it actually gives permission to like not be as prepared. And maybe like that's stressing you out. If you're the type of person that's like, I can't go into a date with nothing, fine. Have that one story that you can always fall back on, or one point that you want to bring up. But I think beyond that, it's just going to feel like a really awkward conversation if it feels like there's such an agenda.
I have such a great example of that. I went on a date years and years ago with this guy who came in hot with his perspective on immigration. He had a very strong stance about immigration. It was actually, admittedly, kind of interesting, and I listened to it. So we spent the whole date talking
was that
about
the first thing that he said to you? Or was that like, okay.
Like one of the first
That's
things.
aggressive to me, as like the first thing.
It's just all about immigration because I think it was something in the news that spurred this, and it was top of mind, and he obviously had refined his talking points to showcase on this date. And at the end of the date, he's like, so how do you think this date went? And I said, so you know I'm an immigrant, right? And he's like, yes. And I was like, do you know my stance on immigration?
Yeah.
And he's like, I mean, you didn't offer it. And I was like, how do you think we can have a discussion about immigration with an actual immigrant and you not ask me one question about how I feel about immigration policies? It is so wild that he didn't even care about my experience. And even though he has such an interesting perspective, I'll still give him that. I felt like we would never work out. I walked away so angry because I was like, he obviously didn't care about my side or my experience or my journey. It was all about him spewing his perspective.
There's so many things about that story feel wrong to me. I mean, first of all, like what you said, yes, was not a conversation. It was a TED Talk given by him. But also to go in with such a topic without reading the room, about seeing the vibe. I mean, I have been guilty of this. I remember I went on a date and it was like when everything was really heated. It was like 2020 with political stuff. And it was just top of mind. And that's what I wanted to talk about. But like looking back on it, it's like, is that really what I needed to talk about to get to know this other human being?
Right.
Like maybe if it just came up organically, but like, did it need to be the focus of our date? And then we couldn't get off of it. Like that was all we talked about was that, you know? And it's like, at the end of the day, I look back at that guy and I don't really know anything about him. I don't even even he was agreeing with me in stance, but like besides that, what do I have?
Right. And it's such an opportunity when we have these discussions. We're not saying like, oh, there's certain topics to avoid.
No.
But it's an opportunity to get to know the person you're on a date with. It's not an opportunity for you to stand on your stage giving your TED Talk. It's not a place for that. And I still think in my example, it was such a great opportunity for him to be like, oh, when did you come over to the US?
Right.
Or what was the naturalization process like? He didn't give a shit.
He could have eased into that convo too. And that's the thing.
Which
is
it's not political at all. It's purely about my background.
Yeah. And if he stated it as like, I'm getting to know you, let me listen, then he could have shared his stance. And then if you were receptive, you could have had a long convo. Or if you weren't, then you don't have a long convo and you move on to something else. Like you don't need to come with such an agenda. Yeah. So I think that's the first thing that comes to mind. What you were saying before about like so much time spent on your profile.
Yes.
Here's the hack, especially for hetero women. Reach out. Like it doesn't matter if your profile is polished. Just reach out to men, to hetero men. And I hear people being like, I don't want to do that. It's 2025. Like, who the F cares? Like, it's getting the ball rolling. But we did this whole episode about the 80-20 rule on dating apps. And there's a lot of people that talk about this, of just how men have to swipe and they never talk to anyone. It's like an endless drain. And then that doesn't make them feel good because like, why do you want to just like be on this app where you're constantly swiping, never talking to a human being? And then for women, they're focused on the 20%, like the top 20% of men. Everyone's like trying to engage with those people and then they don't engage back. And that's discouraging. My take is like, realize that the profile doesn't really matter from what we're talking about. It's just the Zillow, staging that doesn't matter. Be a little more lenient. If someone is cute enough or good looking enough, have a conversation with them. Send that message because I think that goes so much further than making sure you have a polished profile and then sitting there and waiting passively for someone to message you. Someone that's probably quite burnt out, to be honest.
So maybe you can do a 1-to-1 ratio. For every minute you spend polishing your dating profile, you also spend a minute reaching out to people.
Totally.
So the longer you spend on your dating profile, the longer you spend reaching out to people.
I like that. And then the third one, what was the third one that you had? The going on tons of dates.
Yeah, numbers game.
I think this one, why can't we bring back the screen more? I feel like this was something that was really, really useful during COVID times because people didn't want to meet up with every last person, but it brought excitement. Like you had a phone call first, you had a video chat. And that's not to mean that you like expect instant chemistry from either. But I remember going on a lot of phone and video calls and I'm like, it's like pulling teeth to talk to this person. Like there's nothing there. Then you save your time. If you're like, okay, this was like, again, good enough. It's not settling. It's just the reality of going from a digital space to a in-person space. Good enough. I'm going to go meet this person. And then I'll be excited to put a face to the name, or I'll be excited to learn more from our 10-minute conversation. You don't have to be on the phone with them for hours. Just be on there for 5 to 10 minutes.
Yes. What we're trying to help you all do is build up excitement to meet someone. When you're dating like it's a numbers game, there is no looking forward to that date because you're just checking it off. You're trying to hit a fucking quota for the week. But if you make dating an event, you do the screen, you decide to go on a date with them, you save Wednesday nights for dates. Then Wednesday nights, it's like your Broadway nights. It's like your event night. Make it something you look forward to so that you're able to put yourself in the right headspace and bring the right energy to a date and not just a who's next,
Right.
numbers game.
It's also what you were saying too, is if you go on 10 bad dates, then it feels worse. So it's not only just, part of it is showing up more present for the people you actually go on a date with. But the other thing is you get all that time back and you get to use it in ways that fill up your cup and give you energy, whether that's with friends or doing hobbies or whatever. I don't even know, just doing your own thing, like whatever that is. That actually, I think we forget about the benefit that brings into our dating lives too. Because if we have a fuller life, it doesn't put as much pressure on the dating aspect.
Yeah. I get so frustrated when people cancel plans with their friends or family.
Yes.
To go on a date with some rando on a first date. I feel like that shows your priorities are off. The time is spent with the people who earned it, which are the people who have established relationships in your life. And whoever else you bring into your life now has to be really worth it, right?
I remember I had a friend, and ironically, when she actually met someone, she was not in this mind space. Not ironically, that's what happens. But she was like, I need to prioritize dating. Everyone is starting to couple up. I haven't, had someone. I need to prioritize it. So she would excuse canceling plans because she was prioritizing dating. I don't think prioritizing dating needs to be going on every last date with every last person and changing your life around to accommodate a rando. I think prioritizing dating can be doing the work to figure out what you actually want, which is all in how to be dateable, and then letting the right people come in and using your energy for those people. We have a whole chapter, Gaining Clarity, which I stand by, is if you want to change the way you date, you just need to focus on this chapter.
Yeah,
because
just go to that chapter first.
Read the whole book, but yes, go to that chapter.
Well, you can skip around.
Because I think though, having that, it allows you to be much more discerning of who comes in and out. And how you prioritize and spend energy. And then because I think what happens if you don't have that North Star, if you don't have our perfect partner equation that we have in that chapter too, you think that, I can't not go on this date. What if they're the one? What if this is my opportunity and I'm going to miss it because I'm going to the movies with my best friend that I can see every week? The reality is that's not, first of all, not going to happen. The right person, if you tell them you need to meet up the next week, will still be there if they're the right person. But also if you have the perfect partner equation in your North Star, you could have that screen and make sure someone isn't so wildly off. We're not saying you'll learn everything about them on a phone call, but you'll know if someone is completely in left field, or let's say you're I need someone that's reliable, and they hit you up at the very last minute, and then the old you would just drop your friends and go hang out with this person. The new you could be I don't actually want someone that's going to hit me up 10 minutes before they want to go out.
Yeah, that's called having standards.
It is. It is. But I think that makes the right people come into your orbit. I stand by that.
That's what we always talk about with the settling paradox, when people say, I'm so picky. I'm too picky. Yet then you see the type of people they tolerate in their life. Their standards aren't that high, but they think on paper they're very picky. They're looking for the specific type of person. Can we get pickier about our standards?
Yes.
Of the types of behaviors we allow into our lives? You will be able to cut out 90% of the people you meet on dating apps, and you'll save 90% of your time.
And that's a good thing.
Do something else.
That's a good thing. Yeah. That's how you get good at dating, right there. That's how you get good at dating. I feel like this episode was hopefully with some tough love. I think it was a little bit of a rant, but I feel like it's something that we feel passionately about, as you can tell. We feel strongly about this. We feel like the way we've been told to date is setting us up to fail. And
it is.
Really, we need to rewrite that. And that's how we have great relationships.
So go out there and stop training for the dating Olympics and start training your heart.
Yeah, love it. There's no medal for being the best dater.
No. That medal's not worth it if that's what you're chasing. Maybe there's a trophy. If that's the case, Julie will want it. And you wouldn't get it because
I would take Julie the best undater. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for tuning in.
Okay. We'll see you next week.